So 1 minute. So I was just started with the CSV, how to write a CSV file, right? So when you open a file and it's the write mode, and then you have to create a writer object by using the package csv.writer, and here you pass the file path. Okay, so the file object, and followed by the different arguments are there, formatting arguments are there. So that's what I was showing it here. So you see there is for writer object you have uh, for writer the file object, okay, the CSV file object, and followed by it has uh, formatting parameters. Many arguments, properties are there. Okay, so if you want to use formatting parameters, so some of them are delimiter and double quote. If you want to have a double quote for specific field, then you can use it. So line delimiter. So there are other properties you can actually go and explore it. So I was using a delimiter. So here if you don't provide by default, it will take it as a comma delimiter. So I want to use a pipe symbol for each field. So I'm using a pipe symbol. And then once you have a writer object, you can use a write row function to write your each line in your CSV file. So in the file write row, you need to pass your value in as a list. Okay, so it will go and just do the delimiter for each fields, and it will write it into the file. Okay, so you need to provide it as a list to the write row. So it is going to create again same these 3 lines on a CSV file, new CSV file. So let me run this. So if we just open this, so yeah, it has 3 lines. Somehow this is adding up new line, one empty line for every line. Okay, so we saw one delimiter not put it on this. String used to terminate the lines used by the right line. Okay, let's see this. Just remove this. Addition to the delimiter, let's add this also, and provide /n and this. Okay, so now it is that new line was not coming. Okay, so okay, this is how you write a CSV file. And let's focus on that. So next file type is a JSON file. Okay, so for JSON file you have a JSON package. Okay, so JSON file, it is going to get each help you to just a minute. Just a minute. So you need to use a package called JSON to uh, handle or read your JSON file, write your JSON file. So again, you can use a with keyword with the open function and pass the file name. So it is going to give the file object, and JSON dot load of the file object. It is going to give the your data. So what it is going to give is the JSON file is going to give you the dictionary. Okay. So once you have a dictionary, you can access the uh, um, using a key. You can access the values from the dictionary. So if you look at the person CSV file, alright. So let me show you. So it has only one JSON string. It has name as Bob and languages. It has list which consists of multiple languages he speaks or maybe he writes. Okay, so when you read this entire JSON element comes as a dictionary, because this is a JSON structure, but end of the day it is going to give you the dictionary in a Python object. So that's how you are able to access the, using a key you can access the values. Okay, now we were able to read the CSV file, sorry, JSON file. Let's write the JSON file. So if you want to write your JSON file, what you need to do is uh, you need to create a dictionary. Okay, okay, import the JSON package, create a dictionary. What you can use same with the open with keyword with the open function. You open it in a write mode, and there is a function called dump. Okay, for that function, you just pass your dictionary object on the file object. It's going to create the or maybe the dump the content, whatever dictionary object has, going to dump into the new file. So I'll just run this. I open this. Um, we just created here. The entire whatever dictionary we had, we just dump it into this file. Okay, so this is how you can actually handle files, different files in Python. Okay, so there are other file formats. Okay, as I mentioned, Parquet, Avro, and other, even Excel, other. So yeah, you can use the respective packages for handling those files. So these are the like commonly used file formats. Okay, next uh, we have to next is the object oriented programming. Okay, once we cover object oriented programming, probably we will take other three concepts which I mentioned last class, like exception handling, module package. We'll just see tomorrow. Uh, just object programming alone, we'll just see today. Okay. So object programming is one of the paradigm introduced with C++, I guess. Okay, so um, in generally in functional programming, everything is functions. All your logic is done using a functions. So object oriented and even the procedural programming also, structured programming language, all there is a different way you handle your computation, mostly in functions. Before object oriented programming, almost all are functions related one. Okay, so uh, suppose if you want to achieve some logic, you write as a function and you save the function in a particular package and then import the package and use it. So in object oriented programming paradigm, so everything you relate to your real world object. Okay, so if you want to just want to build a student management system, so you actually represent each student as a object in a object oriented programming. So you can relate to any application you build, you relate to the real world. Anyway, it is going to install your real world program, right? So you actually represent your real as a real world entity in a programming language also. So it has many concepts. So I'm just covering only the few important concepts. I'm sorry. So one is class, object, and inheritance. So these three are very important. Okay, classes are foundation of object-oriented programming. I'll just 1 minute. Okay, so classes are foundation of object-oriented programming. Classes represent real-world things you want to model. Okay, in a programs. For example, employees, cars, and banks. So these are the kind of some of the real world things you can represent as a classes in object oriented programming language. Okay. Uh, so you use a class to make objects. Okay. So class is basically kind of template. So out of template you make a objects. Okay. So you can use a class to make objects which are specific instance of a employee, cars, or bank. Once you create a class for your employee, which might have different fields and respective function to perform. So all this will be uh, defined in your class. So you can, using a class, you can create an object. So if I create a employee class, if I want to represent myself as a one employee, so I'll create an object for class and assign the values. Say example, employee ID, name, city where he belongs to, and what is the email ID, and other official information. And the class defines the general behavior of the whole category of the objects can have, and the information that can be associated with this objects. So that's what I tell. So when you define a class, you specify the properties and the functions which is going to perform, right? Yeah, that is the class. So you can just very simple class if you want to create, you can just think of as a calculator class. Because it's a very probably this everybody knows, very known. So if you want to create a class for a particular real world entity, you have to use a class keyword and followed by the class name. And similarly, you have to use the colon and indentation for creating a class. A colon, then in the indentation, now you can just specify your class level variables A and B, and then so if you want to create a class level variable, you can just create it here. And if you want to initialize some values, that can be initialized in a in a special type of function call. Okay, so generally what happens when you want to create a okay, so when you want to create a function, use the def keyword and um, followed by the function name, right? Here you see there is a special function called underscore underscore init underscore underscore. So this is a kind of special function which is used to for initializing the value, some of the values. If you have some value to be initialized, you can do it here. Okay, so then I am actually creating a function inside my class. So this can be accessed using my objects which I'm going to create for this class. Is a simple addition function. It takes two arguments and returns additional two. So if you want to create an object for the create object for this class, so you can actually, it's kind of function call. You give the class name and open close bracket. It's going to give me the object. So C1 is the object of the calculator. Object one of the calc class. And once you have object, you can access those properties as well as the functions. So if I run this, so it is created a, I'll just print this also. So this is the calc object. If you look at this, is the calc object is of type class calc. Okay, and it is able to call the add function using object. For user class, you can do like this. I'm just creating a user class, having an initialize function. So it is going to take an argument, and whatever the value it is passed while creating object. So constructor takes the constructor can have arguments without argument also. So constructor will get called this underscore and underscore init underscore function will get called whenever you create an object for your class. So in the above function example we saw, we are not initializing anything, but still it will be called whenever you create an object for calcing. That's why you see here inside a constructor function. It is automatically called whenever you create a object for your class. So in this case, I will also pass some value while creating an object. So that value can be accessed in the constructor. So you can assign to your class level variable name, and in the print function, I have written one function. So you see function, and in the print function, I'm going to access my variable name, class level variable, using a self keyword. You see here, for constructor and even for function in a class, it has a keyword. It should have a class keyword called self. What is this self? Nothing but represents the current object which you are going to work on it. So class, you create it, and when you create an object, so say example, I'm going to create an object for Karthik. So whatever value I'm just passing. Now I'm going to work with the user object. Say example, user object 1. Okay. So user object 1 is basically this keyword refers to the user object 1. Okay, so I think I did not run this. So it refers this. If you know other programming language, it's like this keyword in Java or C#. There is a keyword called this that refers the current object. Here self is a keyword to represent the current object. And inheritance is the capability of one class to derive or inherit properties from another class. So if you have a parent-child relationship, the child generally acquires the properties from the parent, right? So that's what inheritance. So one of the major advantage of object-oriented programming is reusability. So inheritance is a mechanism on which reusability is achieved. Okay. So inheritance, a class usually called superclass, inherited by the another class, which is called a subclass. So subclass add some attributes to the superclass. Okay, so basically, so I just create a base class as user, okay, uh, with one name as a property and one function print name. And if you want to inherit this class, I create one more class and programmer. So you see here there is an open close bracket. Earlier generally we use class and a keyword and a class name and colon. You can use a open close bracket and pass your class name, from which you want to acquire some properties. Okay. So and then here you can have again the constructor. Okay. And here also you can actually use the here I'm just here it has a print name function. Here I'm just going to have one more function. Okay, so do Python. So now when I go and create a object for user, so which is this one. Okay, so here this yeah. So user object with passing around, and I can when you use I can create if I create a object for the user class. Okay, what happens? I can access this property and also this function. Okay, so which I'm just doing it here. So if I am going to create an object or programmer, then I can access do Python as well as the print Python function, because this is actually derived all the properties from the user class also. So let me run this. So for this one, it just printed a name. And use user object and print name, it printed as Arun. Okay, so when we uh, called print name, again it printed with when you use object for programmer, we pass this Vijay. So when you use a print name, it printed a name equal to Vijay. And also I can access the other method which is part of programmer class, do Python, which printed programming Python. So these are some of the concepts in object-oriented programming. So these are the kind of very essential one. I think I forgot to see this message. Only syntax change here. Yeah, correct. Any doubt in the inheritance or classes? People who already know the object oriented, for them it is very easy. And yeah, so let me know if you have any question. And artists learn these basic things like class, object, and because all the packages are implemented in the form of classes and functions. So you just it's better to know all these basic concepts in object-oriented programming. Okay, so with this, probably I will wrap up today's session. So uh, tomorrow we will start. Basically, I'll just quickly cover tomorrow exception handling and module and package. Then we will start a PySpark session. Any other information you need or any questions you have?
No problem.
All right. All right then. Then we'll see tomorrow morning. Okay. Bye.